Guest today is Michele Blood, and she's the author of The Magic of Affirmation Power. Michele Blood had a great career as a rock singer in Australia. She traveled around the world performing with her band. Then one horrible night, she was in a car accident and everything changed. She was in the hospital for many months. Finally, after long operations, she discovered something that transformed her consciousness and healed her mentally and physically. Positive affirmation. And she's put that to song, and she's made a second career out of teaching others how to live a successful life. And we're going to talk about that today on The World of Work, and we're also going to discuss how the ideas that you use to run her rock band are transferable to running any other type of business. Michele Blood, thank you for being with us. It's a pleasure to have you on The World of Work.
Thank you, Shep. I've been looking forward to this interview today with you.
Well, I'm looking forward to speaking with you. And let's go back when you're young. How old were you when you first started singing, performing, playing instruments?
5. Well, actually, my mother would say 2, but I would say professionally since I was 5, because that was my first paid gig on TV.
Wow. And when did you form your rock group?
Formed my rock group when I was about 21. I did a lot of other things in between that, but I finally got a band together that was really fantastic. I had a lot of different bands before that, but the main one that we went on to tour at one stage for 7 years non-stop was that band. And it was back in, wow, I can't even remember what year that is.
So you were on tour?
Long time ago.
You were on tour 7 years without stopping?
Yeah, without stopping. Because the way it was back then in Australia, when you got a tour booked, it was usually for about 6 months. And so you cannot blow out one gig. You have to show up every town, every time. Otherwise, you're out of work for 6 months. Before you get really successful, that's how it is. You're pretty successful at that stage because you're working around the country non-stop. But the way the agents worked back then, that's how it was. So you just had to keep taking the gigs while they were there, because you know what it was like when you first started out struggling trying to get one gig. So once you get the gigs, you just, plus all the wives in the band, even though they didn't tour with us, they would, they needed their husbands that were the guys in my band to have the money, I guess. So
Did you feel
they
like
were happy.
Did you feel like you were homeless?
Well, you are, basically. When you're in a band, I mean, I any sort of artist who tours a lot, you don't really, I know Keanu Reeves didn't have a home for about 10 years. I think he lived in a hotel because you're touring all the time. So the venues that hire you give you accommodation at whatever town it is. Sometimes it's like a cockroach palace. Sometimes it's really nice. But there's no need for a home because you're on tour the entire time.
And what type of venues did you play in?
Well, to start with, they were smaller, sort of rougher, little pubs in Australia. Australia back in the 80s had so many venues. So to start with, it was little rough pubs, and you really, really learn, you do your time there, that's for sure. And then eventually, there were very, very big venues all over Australia. Between 2,000 to 6,000 people per venue would fit in, and they'd be packed. So, it went from little venues that could fit maybe 100 people, and that's harder to sing to, is a smaller crowd, I'm telling you.
Why is that?
Well, because they can throw things at you like, show us your tits, and I'll say, they're sort of so close to the smaller stage where when you're on a really big stage, they can't get to you. So I just felt safer on a bigger stage. And I felt more in control of how I could handle the audience, because when I was quite a nice-looking young girl, and but I really learnt my way. I learned how to handle any audience.
And what is it about performing that gets you going and it's exciting to you?
Well, it's just something that, I mean, my mother said I could sing every song on the radio by the age of 2. It's just something that I was born with, the ability to sing. And what I noticed as a little girl, even in Catholic school, because I would win all the school esteviets for the nuns, and they'd be so happy, that people were really happy when I sang. Apparently I was a pretty quiet little girl, pretty shy, but Mum said once I was on that stage, they were all shocked because I was just a natural performer. And I just loved to see people happy, and it's just something that made my heart sing to do it. You know, I just love to perform.
Did you release records, albums, as well as performing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we got eventually we got a record label with Time Warner, pretty big record label, and did videos, rock videos and all that stuff, which is, you know, you work so hard as a singer on the road, and when you start getting to go into the recording studio, and I love writing songs, I love recording, I loved learning how to produce, learning how to do engineering. I learned every area of the business. I just adored it, and I loved making videos. So much fun.
How much time did you spend making videos in the course of a day? A lot of time making videos, or more time on the road?
No, because we'd be recording, and then once you've recorded, then the record label, unfortunately, I think it's better if the band chooses which song that they've written is going to be the next one. So back in the day, then the record label would choose which song, and then we'd have about a month after that, after the record is just about to be released, there'd be storyboarding and, you know, masterminding what we would like to do with the producers. And then you do the video in a day, always one day you do it, and then they'd probably take another month to edit it. And so, you know, it's quite, you know, maybe 2 videos a year back in the day.
Okay. And did you see things changing before your accident? Was the nature of the business changing, or was it pretty much the same until your accident?
Pretty much the same. Yeah, technology hadn't quite caught up with the recording. I remember when we used to do what dance mixes, what they used to call 12-inch mixes of our music, they'd have to use tape and use all, like there's a drum roll, there's a guitar, I mean, it's really, really complex. And these days, you know, when I'm recording songs, you can just cut and paste and edit anywhere, put a drum roll here, change the music there. But back then it was very, very challenging and very time-consuming to record, but I always loved it.
Now, you wrote your own music. How'd you get the inspiration for the songs that you wrote?
Usually, you know, relationships. You know, mere dust without you, baby. If only we could be together, or something like that. Yeah, just whatever inspired me. I'd be, you know, whoever I was in love with that month. Yeah, always my own experience, you know.
And
That's
the business side of it. What was the business side like, running a touring rock band?
Oh, it was so challenging. I mean, if you can do that, you can do anything. Because as the manager of the band and the lead singer, I had to find the right road crew who were really, really good at what they did. And what I used to do is I'd go to different venues and I would check out the different bands, and I would headhunt drummers, road crew.
Really?
I had the gift of the gab, and I just managed to be able to get them all really involved and excited about working with me in my band.
Okay.
And so and then you have to work out the budget, because what you're paid in Australia back in those days wasn't much, and you had to work out how to pay the road crew, how to hire the trucks, when you could buy equipment, because to start with, everyone has to rent the equipment. So you'll find that in Australia specifically, the rock bands probably made about $25 each a week, and everyone else got the money. I remember Michael Hutchinson in Excess in Melbourne. Mm-hmm. He went up to one of my road crew after a gig and had to borrow money for a hamburger because he didn't have any money.
Wow.
Before they hit it big overseas. It's you have to love it, because you don't do it for the money, that's for sure.
Now you mentioned to me before we started the show that one of the major problems in putting a show together is getting the band to show up on time. Tell us about that.
Well, before we started touring, when we're touring, it's easy because they used to call me the till of the Hun. I'd have the whip out, making sure they were all in the cars and everything early enough. But when we had to meet each other at the gig, for the rehearsal or sound check, I always used to, if it was for 4 o'clock, I'd say it was for 3 o'clock. I had to use every trick in the book to get, because musicians that are really good are great. But I had to put down a lot of rules. If they were out of tune or something, they didn't really get a second chance to be in a band with me. Because if your band is not in tune, you're not going to get a gig, because people unconsciously can really hear if music is out of tune. Even I just feel uncomfortable. Even if they don't think they've got a good ear for music, you can feel it. If someone's doing a harmony and one person's out of harmony, you're like, ooh, yeah. It's like chalk on a blackboard. So you have to really practice and make sure everyone's in tune. And I think running a business is like that as well. I think if I can share something that I feel that a lot of women entrepreneurs have a challenge with, Shep?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I noticed when I started my own self-publishing and my own music business and working in different countries, I would be advertising and hiring people. And what I was doing was I was hiring people that wanted to do what I did. They wanted to be a motivational speaker or a spiritual teacher or something. And they'd meet me through coming to one of my gigs, one of my events. And what I realized was that is not, I had to do what I used to do with the band. You hire someone who does something much better than you can, and they don't want to do what you do. They don't want to be the lead singer. They want to be the accountant. They want to be the person who makes the websites or looks after customer relations. You want to get the best so that you're all in tune. And what I found, and I've spoken to so many women entrepreneurs over the years, is we end up having a little bit too much of even me, after running a band, I would hire the wrong people. And then I realized one day, I've got to treat this business as a rock band. I've got to be just as strict as I was about road crew I hired, truck drivers I hired, musicians I worked with people that I work with, and make sure that they're coming from the right attitude, mindset, and that they have the potential to become really good. And that made all the difference in the world. I started getting, now the team of people I've got, John Endara, my business partner, I've worked with him for 22 years. Trevor Rogers, who does the customer care and everything, I've worked with him for 17 years. Because once you've got a good team of people, you all begin to get better at your work, but you make sure that you all strengthen your strengths. And another thing that I highly recommend for any entrepreneur, when people decide to start their own business, they want to hire people who can do everything. They just want to be the talent. And that is not how success is found. You have to learn everything. You have to learn every aspect, like I did with my rock band. I could play a lot of different instruments. I wasn't the virtuoso on guitar for sure, or keyboards, but I knew enough to who to hire. And I found the same with business, learning how to do your own printing, learning how to, even with Zoom, learning how to get the right equipment. If you can learn all the different aspects of it, then you know who to hire and who not to hire.
So that was the question I was going to give you. How do you know who and what? It's based on your knowledge of the field that they're, or the aspect of your band that they're going to be working on?
Well, first of all, it's attitude. That makes a huge difference for me. If they've got a positive mental attitude and they're very good at what they do, or they're willing and open to learn to know what they do. Because Trevor couldn't do all the things he can do now, that's for sure. But John taught him, and he was a great student. He learned how to do so many different things. And so that's the first thing I look at is how do I feel about the person? Have they got a positive mental attitude? Are they if they get surly or not, because you can't be surly in a rock band, that's for sure. The audience will feel it. So you don't want to hire anyone who's surly in your business either. And what I used to do, Shep, I would write a list before I met the people on what qualities I would want. I focused on the qualities that they're loyal. I write it down as if I already had this person working with me. This new person I wouldn't put male or female, this new person working with me has a positive mental attitude, is open to learning, is loyal, is honest, learns very, very quickly, is intelligent, is lovely to people. And, you know, like, for example, when I met Trevor, he was managing a Blockbuster video place, and I was writing a book about Hollywood success, and I was interviewing, you know, many of the A-class directors and actors in Hollywood to put in this book, How to Be a Magnet to Hollywood Success. And Trevor was there, and he was always making sure he ordered in the video so I could watch all the movies these people were in or had directed before I interviewed them. And he was so great to work with. And so one day I realised he has all the qualities that I'm looking for, and I offered him the position. He couldn't do all the things, but he learnt very, very quickly. And I noticed he had a great attitude with all the people at Blockbuster that were getting cranky because there was long lines. And I said, look, this place is going to close down, honey. Come and work with me.
When you were talking before that for 7 years you were on the road, how did you practice if you were performing every day?
Well, you practice during the day because you gig at night, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so you practice, you know, you'd usually get to the venue. If you're going to start at 7 or 8, you'd get to the venue by 2 or 3. And when you have a day off, you're still in the same town, we'd get together if we did have a day off, because we didn't work 7 nights a week, we worked 6 nights a week. And on the day off, we would, you know, I would go and record. I had a little 4-track that I could just write my music, and I would record and start writing songs on those days.
You were the leader of the band. Did you have any problems being a woman with, overseeing the band, which is mainly men?
Oh, God, no. They wouldn't go near me. They'd get killed. And it's so funny because I'm 5'0", and in that particular band, the shortest man was 6'2". No, they were very good, and it was just beautiful that every single one of them were married. So I was cool with that. No one, if anyone tried to flirt with me or sidestep, I would just say, that's not the rules. You don't even think of me like that. I'm 𝗟𝗘𝗥𝗡, remember?
And how about from a supervisory perspective? Did they ever, you're not going to tell me what to do?
Oh, no. I mean, if I had someone who was getting surly or, because I allowed them to learn what they learned, because when you're working with professional musicians who are at that level, the highest level of being so good at what they do, you don't have to tell them what to do. When we were doing a song, we would all mastermind it. We'd work out what was, we'd be creative together. And whenever before that particular band, I had band members or something that were like that, it's like, for example, it's so crazy. We had this bass player who was really good, but his girlfriend was just insane. She would be like, he should be in the video more. He's the bass player and he's better looking than everyone else. And we'd be like, but I'm the lead singer. I'm sorry, but I have to be in the video more than him. So in the end, I just said to him, it's her or us. And he picked her. But anyway. So sometimes it's not the musicians, it's their girlfriends or wives that are a hassle.
When you come to a point where you really create something that's a masterpiece, what's a sense of accomplishment that you get?
Well, for me, what it was, when I knew I'd written a good song, I would get what I call God bumps, and I would get heart glow. I would feel it with intensity in every cell of my being that what has just, because I don't say I wrote them. I just think it's a collaboration with the mystical, with the divine coming through you when you feel something and you feel it's different. It's doesn't sound like anyone else's song. It's just the most magical feeling. You feel like you're on a wave and you're just riding this surfboard and other times you write a song and you just go, that sucked. Next. But you can feel it in every cell of your being when you know magic is happening. And whenever I did that, the song would be written so fast, Shep. It had nearly turned my head so fast. And the songs that weren't good took too long to write. Anyway.
So you kind of, the words just fell off of your pen?
I would never write them on a pen. I would record it immediately.
Okay.
What would happen would be the lyrics and the melody would come to me straight away, and I would record it on a little cassette player so I wouldn't lose it. I didn't want it to be lost out in the hemisphere, because if with music, when it comes to you like that, or ideas come, whether you're writing a book or whatever, you have to, pen it down straight away, or sing it or say it onto a cassette player, because a lot of creative people don't realise that. It's like Mick Jagger with the song I Can't Get No Satisfaction. He woke up in the middle of the night and he heard it in his head, and he was going to go back to sleep, and he had his little cassette player as well, and he sang it immediately down onto the cassette. And when I heard about that many years ago, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I will never let a song, because I try to remember the song by repeating it over and over, but sometimes the short-term memory just spits it out.
I guess if you don't do it, that's right. You're going to, you'll forget it by the time you wake up in the morning.
Exactly. So he said he's very, very happy that he can't get no. Good on you, Mick. Still going strong.
Still going strong. He's about 80, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's early 80s, yeah.
Well, it's time in a few minutes to take a break, and we'll talk about what happened to you in the car accident and how it changed your life. But any closing thoughts about your career as a rock singer?
Well, I think for anyone, if you have something within you that you know 100% that's what you're going to do, don't let anyone say you can't do it. My father at the time offered me so many different things that I would not continue being a singer, because he was concerned for me, I guess, that, life on the road. I ignored everyone else. I just did what I needed to do. And I think that's part of your spiritual path, is when you feel really, really sure, passionate, and nothing and no one can stop you from doing it. Well, you're on the right path.
Okay, with that, Michele Blood, we're going to take a break now. This is The World of Work. I'm your host, Shep Cohen, and we're speaking with Michele Blood, who is we'll get into that in the second half.
Between 3 and 5 p.m.
This afternoon with Michele Blood, who is the author of The Magic of Affirmation Power. And Michele, tell us what happened to you, the car accident you were in, and how it changed your life.
Yes, Shep, it's like the worst thing in the world that could have happened to a singer, who's a rock singer, who's like on stage dancing and singing, entertaining every night, was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it was a near-fatal car accident. I was in a truck. We'd been driving for 12 hours, and the truck driver who was driving our musical equipment to the next gig, it's a long time, 12 hours to drive, I guess, fell asleep behind the wheel, and the truck went into a telephone pole, and as the passenger, all the musical equipment went into me, and I had so many injuries. For the first 2 weeks, they just didn't think I would survive at all. And, excuse me, I'm just going to have a sip of water.
Okay, we're speaking with Michele Blood, who's the author of The Magic of Affirmation Power.
So, I had many long operations, and I obviously survived, but when you are in physical agony, literally, one of the operations was 17 and a half hours.
17 and a half?
Yeah, because
Wow.
there was so much splintered bone in my bladder and different organs that they had to, before they put together my hip and my pelvis, which was completely smashed, they had to do that operation to stop all the internal bleeding, and that was the longest operation. And then I had to be in traction for 3 weeks. And anyone who's been in traction, when you've got like a hip broken off, and it is agony. You're just screaming until you pass out. And so I was in the hospital. I want to make this horrible story into a lovely, lovely story at the end there. I was in the hospital for so many months, and I was very, very depressed and in physical. Of course, I was depressed, because if I could walk again, if I survived this one, if you survived that one, do you want to call a priest? I'm like, what? But anyway, what happened to me was people began to send things to me, positive books and stuff. I couldn't read a book because I was on, I wasn't allowed a mattress or a pillow at that stage. I was just flat on my back, and they would just lift me a few times a day, which used to just was the most horrible thing in the world, waiting when you're in traction for these people to come and lift you so you don't get bed sores or whatnot, I guess.
Yes.
But so what happened was, after a few months, they were putting these cassettes on, and I'd never, Shep, needed motivational material. I was positive. I was disciplined. I never blew out a gig. I always looked after my voice. I didn't drink or smoke. I had to do everything I could to look after my voice when you're singing for hours every night. And so I was living my life of a dream life as far as I was concerned. I loved what I did. But someone put on a tape, I think it was my Auntie Jan, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now that particular audio book changed my life. Now you can ask,
how did you do that?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? A young Australian rock singer, female, but a book about male entrepreneurs in America in the 1920s. Why would that influence me in any way, shape or form? Well, there was just one chapter, Shep, that did it for me. And that was the chapter where Napoleon Hill is speaking about his little infant son that was born 100% deaf. And so Napoleon Hill would go into his little infant son's room every single night for years and years. You can hear perfectly. You are strong. You are loved and you love in return. You are a confident young man. You are healthy. You are vital. You every day in every way you are hearing more and more and more. By the time the little boy was 4.5, he had 30% of his hearing. Napoleon Hill refused to send him to a hearing school. He sent him, to a non-hearing school. He sent him to a hearing school. And by the time that young man was 18, he was one of the head people in the hearing aid industry and a multimillionaire. But it wasn't about the money. What it was for me was I'd never heard of affirmations or autosuggestion. Not really. I'd heard of, I guess, hypnotism, but...
And what does affirmation mean?
Well, an affirmation is a positive statement, a positive affirmation, I should say, because
Yes.
people do have negative self-talk, which are negative affirmations. A positive affirmation is a statement that you say in the now, and it has to be about what you want to have happen as if it's already happened. Now, the problem for me, Shep, was you have to emotionalize it so that it will go into the treasury of your subconscious mind. And Napoleon Hill said that is the main thing, for you to believe it, for it to be a new seed that is planted into your subconscious mind, you must emotionalize it. Now, I could not emotionalize it, Shep, because I was in physical pain. My doubting mind spat it out. That is not the truth. I would say, I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend, over and over again. And then the doctor would come in. Oh, the next operation. My doubting mind would be like, this is not true. This is rubbish. I just don't think I can continue doing this. But then an epiphany. I'm a singer-songwriter. You can't get a song out of your head that you hear on the radio. Children learn their ABCs immediately through singing them. Sing your affirmation. So I got them to give me a 90-minute blank cassette, press it on record. I'm lying down flat on my back and I start singing.
And you're singing.
I am healed, I know I am. I love myself, I am my friend. Over and over again. And so to make a long story short, I listened to that every day. And even after the first day, Shep, my attitude changed. I started feeling, I thought, even if I can't walk again properly, I'm a singer-songwriter. You can still sing, you can still record. I started seeing things. I started seeing the rainbow instead of the clouds. And by the time I left the hospital, it was miraculous. They interviewed me on so many TV shows and magazines about this miraculous healing from this singer that I ended up recording loads of affirmation songs when I got out of the hospital, but just for me and the band, because I knew if that healed my body, that one affirmation song, imagine So I started writing songs about success, and I'm a magnet to money, money, money loves me, and all of the I am energy. And just for us to listen to over and over again, for our minds to be created this success mindset. I thought the world will be our oyster. We'll be #1 hit band all over the world soon. But what happened was that immediately the brakes came off of that, because what happened was promoters who promoted people like Bob Proctor, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, they would hire these well-known best-selling motivational spiritual authors to tour around Australia. Apparently it was a big deal. I didn't know anything about that sort of stuff. Never heard of any of these people. And they said, we want you to sing in between the speakers. We've got 6 speakers, 6 authors who we bring out to Australia, and we want you to go on tour with them. And I said, doing what? Well, singing these affirmations that healed your body. And I said, well, that's not for the public, you know. And they said, no, it really is. And so what happened was they paid me a lot of money, more than I'd ever made in like 2 years' time per event. And I just had to have backing music on a CD, which is easy to do in the recording studio. And I would just speak a little bit about it, and then I would sing a different affirmation song. And by the time I ended up touring with Bob Proctor, he said, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. The audience love it. They're all on their feet. I remember every lyric. And I've only heard those 2 affirmation songs, I Am Energy and I Am Magnet to Money, once tonight. I want you to tour the world with me. I want to write songs with you. And his wife ended up helping with that. And I ended up, before I knew it, I broke up my rock and roll band, and I was doing huge venues with all of these amazing people that I got to meet and tour with from all over the world. So that's how my new life. And then I started writing about it and studying deeper and deeper into metaphysics and mysticism and meditation. Ended up running Bob Proctor's business, actually. Got him to have a best-selling book, You Were Born Rich, from Kuala Lumpur, because we started doing huge events in Asia. And then I got another band together in Asia and started writing lots of different songs as well. So I ended up having hits in different languages, and it was just unstoppable. Nothing could stop, because once you oscillate at a certain vibration and your mindset has become one of an unstoppable success, well, then opportunities just keep coming. Like even to this day, every day I have huge opportunities to be on magazines, to share healing, to do things that just all over the world, non-stop, every single day of my life, 7 days a week, because this works for people. It works, and now it's been proven scientifically. If anyone goes to micheleblood.com, MICHELEBLOOD, you can check out all the studies. If you don't believe what I'm saying, check out all the studies from, Berkeley, Johns Hopkins, that have proven that affirmations, and especially with positive music, works 300 times faster than anything else, and that you can change your life 360 degrees like that.
And I can understand changing it mentally, but how does it help you physically? And how did it help you physically? What condition were you in at the time that it struck you that you should sing the positive affirmations?
I was in a really bad way. I was out of traction, and I still had one more operation to go. But it changed when you change your mindset. This is, like I said, you check out the studies. When you change your mindset, it's something that it's just magical the way, if you believe it. It's like the original affirmation was from this French lady who wrote, every day in every way, I am getting better and better. And people that did that affirmation got better. They got healed from just doing that one affirmation, which was really like in the 1800s, the first famous affirmation that doctors would then say to their patients, say this over and over all day. It works because whatever you believe in your subconscious mind, it creates healing. You tell your mind something and it goes forth and it does it. It heals the cells of your body. Miraculous things happen to people every day through the power of visualization, visualizing yourself happy and healthy, and also the power of affirmations, because Each time you listen to an affirmation, even if you're not saying it, just listening to the music, it permeates your subconscious mind. And all the old negative thoughts, every day people are creating through their emotions. So when they're creating negative thoughts, they're creating negative emotions, and they're creating negative life. And they wonder why they might move towns or cities or change boyfriends, but they still have the same experience over and over again, just different hair color, different city, is because they've taken their mindset with them. So they're recreating the same thing because they haven't recreated their mind, because our ability to have healing and achieve success depends entirely on our mindset. But people say to me, but Michele, how do you create the kind of mindset that allows you to achieve unstoppable success and healing, no matter what obstacles are in your body or in your path? Well, the strategies that help you do that are the positive affirmation that you say over and over again, either say them or sing them. And when you do it enough, and every single person I've worked with, from Bob Proctor to Jack Canfield to Tony Robbins, 𝗟𝗢𝗥𝗡, everyone, that is what they all teach. And that is how their lives changed. Their lives changed to the positive, and they were, all of these people, except for 𝗟𝗢𝗥𝗡, they came from pretty meager means, didn't make much money, and then something triggered them, like a book, a positive thought, and then they realized, oh my God, I've just got to change my thinking and I'll change my life.
You change your life, but what happens to the person who's told by a doctor you have an incurable disease? I mean, what does positive affirmation play? What role does it play there?
Well, see, doctors don't actually say you've got an incurable disease. I don't think they're allowed to these days. They're allowed to say once you're healed, you're in remission, which means it's gone. But so many doctors now are open to positive thinking and visualization. They realize how important it is, the mindset of the person. And I can give you example after example after example of people, and I write about these people in my books as well, who've been told, you've got stage 4 this, stage 3 that.
Yes.
And if they do the visualization, and if someone puts on the positive music for them over and over again, they start to oscillate at a higher frequency, because cells become sick and speak to each other, whether it's cancer or no matter what it is, and it spreads because of the oscillation of the person. The frequency is low. They're in physical pain and they're in mental pain, and it becomes low. So you will believe what the doctors are saying, and it's a very scary thing. So to get someone out of the fear of that, they've just got to totally be so self-disciplined. And sometimes it's just a matter of, like, I've got an album called Self-Esteem Songs for Kids that Dr. Chopra said, do one for children, little babies and children. And it has worked tremendously for children that have autism, that couldn't even speak to someone, or they'd start screaming. They just play these affirmation songs for the kids, and they start singing along, because kids love music. It helps heal them so profoundly. And some kids that were told, their parents were told, oh, they're going to have to go to a slow learning school, the parents would start playing my music to them. And the parents said sometimes the parents preferred my children's CDs to the adult ones. So it just works on the cells. It works at a cellular level, what we think about, because it all happens from the mind. And as I said, even if someone doesn't believe it, check out the studies from micheleblood.com, and you will see study after study, and so many people who healed themselves, who became who they are today. And I mean, even if you look at Tony Robbins, he was obese and broke, and something within him changed his life through positive affirmations, through changing his mindset, through realizing that you've got to change the neural condition.
There was
the brain,
I don't know if you heard, this is many years ago, Norman Cousins, who was the editor of Reader's Digest magazine, had a physical problem, and he watched comedy. And he thought that laughter helped him to break out of the problem that he had. I don't know if that's something that is akin to what you're speaking about, or?
Oh, yeah. One of my most famous CDs is called The Laughing Meditation. I got a whole bunch of babies and people, and we went into the recording studio, and I'd say dirty jokes and stuff and get them all to laugh. And so you just, you got your different choices. You can listen just to adults laughing. You can listen to babies giggling, to children laughing, because I realized that, laughter is it brings down such powerful, strong, positive endorphins into the body, and it heals great. I mean, one of my favorite things to watch is Spinal Tap.
Okay. I missed that one.
Oh, it's so funny. It was done in the 80s, and it's about a rock band. It was huge, actually. It's about a rock band, a fictional rock band, who everything in it. If you're a rock musician, you can relate to everything in it. Now, you see, Nigel, this is my speaker. I put it up to 11. But don't they normally just go to 10? Yeah, but this one goes to 11, so it's louder, you see. But all they did was just change it and put a little dot that said 11 instead of 10. I mean, just crazy stuff. It's just a Lucille Ball. I love to watch all the clips on YouTube of Lucille Ball. I love Lucy. There's so many, of course, my favourite would have to be Monty Python.
Mm-hmm.
Silly Walk.
Yes.
With John Cleese. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you noticed during the beginning of COVID, there'd be so many areas all over the world where they would put signs up in the neighbourhood that said, begin your silly walk now. And they'd have a picture of John Cleese. And people would start doing a silly walk till the end of said, stop your silly walk now. And that really brightened up people's lives during, the first lockdown of COVID.
During COVID, how did that affect your business, and did it change in any way?
Yes, it did. I had to cancel all the big events that I put on, where people fly in from, usually about 26 different countries to see me twice a year, mm-hmm. and they're really big events. And the smaller meditation events I would put on for just, say, 100 people on different weekends, because I used to have a meditation, my own meditation room, which fed about 100 people in San Diego County.
Yes.
And so I closed all that down, and I live in the country. So I just made everything happen from where I live, my beautiful home in the country, in the mountains. And my team, John worked out how to do the Zoom properly, because we used to do live streaming, but we wanted to do it really professionally so lots of people could come on. So we started doing Zooms. Like at one stage I did Zooms every day for about 3 months for mm-hmm. free for people, just to perk them up and make them feel better. And we'd started doing masterminding with people to help them learn how to start a new career. Like one of my students, meditation students in Switzerland, she couldn't do her piano teaching anymore because the piano school closed down. So we all masterminded and taught her how to do it online. So she's now teaching, because she speaks 4 languages, teaching how to play the piano. She's making more money and more success than she's ever made. So we started brainstorming with people on how they could improve their business or do it online. And so it was a really beautiful, beautiful experience working with like-minded people that wanted to assist everyone. And then we would put together GoFunds for single parents that had kids and they couldn't work. And so we created a lot of funding for a lot of single mums. It was just an amazing experience. And so now I do interviews nearly daily via Zoom or whatever the person's platform is. And beautiful camera work, lighting, beautiful everything. And I love it. I love working from home. We will begin doing live events again in 2023.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you're extremely motivated. You have a very positive personality. How do you convey to someone who is a downer, a blamer, that they should change their outlook on life and become positive? Someone who's been negative for 50 years.
Well, it's challenging because people they have to want to change. And so I don't say, like I say to these people that come to me that they want to have change. They've read a book of mine, one of my books, I've got many books. They've listened to a CD, they've gone to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Michele Blood, something's touched them and they want to change and they feel that they're in a depressed state, and it could be from the loss of a loved one or money or fear of lack of money. Whatever it is, one of the main things I do with my students is teach them also how to assist their friends who don't want to be helped, how to visualize seeing them happy. There's so many tools I've got in my toolbox of spirituality and of positive thinking to assist to bring somebody up very, very quickly. And even if they don't know it, some people get me to pray or do what I call light transmissions for their loved ones that have been ill. And they don't even have to know I'm doing it. I don't ever say to someone, you have a negative mindset. I just say you're in fear. And that can be harmonized. You can get out of that state of mind of fear, and let's use all the tools in our toolbox until we find one that resonates with you. And so the one thing to do is, if someone's a blamer and a complainer, don't think negative thoughts about them, because otherwise you're going to keep that negativity, particularly if it's a family member. Oh, they can't change. They're always negative.
And you mentioned positive transmissions. What does that mean exactly?
Well, that would be a much longer conversation, what a light transmission is. It's about enlightenment. But if anyone is interested in what that is, they can just go to my YouTube channel. I talk about enlightenment, meditation, deep mysticism. If someone's really wanting to know about karma and what all these things really are and how you can receive a light transmission or learn how to give a light transmission, I've got hundreds of videos there that cover all of these different topics, Shep.
And you have an offer for my listening audience.
Oh, yes, I do. I'm so happy for everyone. Please take advantage of this. I've got over $200 of my best-selling products. The Songs for Success I did co-wrote with the great Bob Proctor. We've got my video, the practice of meditation, my latest book, The Magic of Affirmation Power, magnetic creative visualization and a powerful visualization. I mean, how to do a daily list, how to get your act together, how to set your goals, how to change your mindset. Over $200 worth of wonderful products for free, 100% free. All they have to do, Shep, is go to micheleblood.com/world of work.
Okay, thank you.
Work.
What's in the future for your world of work?
Well, Bob Proctor and I did an amazing program called New Paradigms, and before he left the body, we were doing the book on it. So I'm just finishing the touches of that. But the biggest thing I've done with my team is we've done an app which has got so many affirmations, Magnet to Money song and affirmations. It's called magnettomoneyapp.com, magnettomoneyapp.com. It's only for iPhones right now, but we've just launched that. And that took a long time. They're not easy to put together. That took a long time to develop. But it's really positive. It's only 99 cents a month. And it's something that even if you don't remember to do your affirmations, you can put a notification on the phone and you hear these positive affirmations all day if you want to.
When you were released from the hospital, what was your condition like? Were you physically well, or was there still a lot of
No, I
rehab?
had a really bad limp, but I knew that would go. I knew it. And so it only took about a month later for me to be walking in high shoes again. And the doctor, when I went for my last checkup, he just couldn't believe it. He just said, that's not possible. And I told him what I did, and he went, oh, my God, So, yeah, I just refused to give up.
When you separated from your rock band after your accident and went into the area that you're in now, were there hard feelings, or did they accept it?
Well, what I did, which was the right thing to do, I gave them 6 months' notice. So I gigged with them for another 6 months. I didn't do like all over. I only did Sydney and Brisbane, just 2 cities I said I would do, because we could get gigs wherever I wanted them back then, just so that they could have an opportunity to rehearse and get their own bands together, and for their wives to work out what to do, work-wise. So I gave, and they were very, very happy, because I gave up quite a few big gigs overseas to be able to do that for them so that they could, so they were very happy with that. We're all still really, really wonderful friends.
Do you enjoy your current business as much as working in the rock band or performing in the rock
Much
band?
more, because I'm in a different state of consciousness. Because I meditate, teach I'm assisting to release suffering in the world, to have people be happy and healed. And so the purpose of my life is now the most beautiful, extraordinarily humbling experience, because I do see people change. And I know that what I'm doing assists them so powerfully. And I mean, it's the best. It's the best life.
Well, we're coming to an end. Any closing thoughts? We have about 2 minutes left. It's really been a pleasure learning from you what affirmation can do positively for someone. Do people go around singing your positive affirmation songs?
Yeah, it's funny. An engineer, a record producer, I should say, who used to work with 𝗟𝗧𝗏 and Waterman in England, just contacted me recently, and he wants to do a dance mix of my Magnet to Money song because he was at a big seminar in Europe, and Marcy Shermoff and some other best-selling authors were there, and they were playing my music. I didn't know. They play my music everywhere. They were playing my music in between speakers, and he went up to them and he said, "Who is that? I want that music." And so, yeah, it just happens all the time. People are playing it all over the world. Many people have done the Magnet to Money song in so many different languages. So it's fun.
And you keep coming up with new songs, or?
Oh, yeah, of course. My latest album, Create Miracles, powerful affirmation songs to harmonize your life. This is the most powerful one, I think, for uplifting your spirit, because it's got all the songs. Miracles are happening. I am healed. Divine love. I am perfect. I forgive. The joy of living is forgiving. I am love. I'm never lonely. Perfect relationships. I mean, this one is just for people to really want to greet the day with love in their heart and to give themselves something softer to listen to that can warm their soul, their heart, and that they can just feel that love and that light again within themselves when they've been down or when they've been ill.
Did you ever think that your life would take a turn as it did to the negative and then comes completely in a different direction, and you wound up in the occupation you're in now?
Never had a thought of changing my life, except, the rock band was it. So, no, it wasn't. It's something. What I love is that it happened for me to heal myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't plagiarizing someone. No one else was doing it. And I always say, go to a piano teacher who can play piano. Don't go to someone who's just repeating information that they've learned. Go to someone who's had the experience.
Michele Blood, we have to end at that. Thank you very much for being with me this afternoon. It was a pleasure. And good luck on all your positive work.
More love. Thank you, Shep.
Okay, take care. Nice speaking with you.